Great. And then I have prepped some slides, so I'll just walk through those really quick to kick us off. There we go. So welcome to Pacific Town Hall. Today is April 19th, 2023. And Pacific Town Hall happens every 2 nights at 6 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. Tonight's agenda is a quick intro and orientation, which we're doing right now. Then we'll have a round of community updates, which is a time for you all in the community to give any updates if you're doing stuff in the Cardano ecosystem so that we can keep abreast of what other people are doing. And then tonight, we're just going to go over the Cardano Foundation Annual Report, which they've, it's the inaugural one. They put one together and released it. So I thought it'd be interesting to kind of leaf through that and discuss it. And then finally, we've been discussing doing a time change. We've been doing it at 6 p.m. Pacific Standard for a long time. But it seems to be some people can't make it because it's really difficult to, especially on the West Coast, to leave work and eat and then get online. And so we're going to discuss changing the time a little bit. So we'll have a conversation at the very end about that. But really quickly, Pacific Town Hall is a community-led bi-weekly meetup. Happens on alternate Wednesdays, and we seek to provide a safe and lively environment for the Cardano community to come together, connect, have interesting discussions, and share relevant knowledge at a time that is convenient for people that are living around the Pacific.
Or do you want to change it to slideshow mode, or are you going to do it like this?
Oh, I can do that. It may be really huge, though. How's that look?
Okay.
And this is brought to you by Sonata, the Salmon Nation Decentralized Alliance. And I don't know how to advance. Oh, there it goes. Oops. So just the standard slide. Welcome to the experiment. Things may break, lack documentation, differ greatly between iterations, disorient, overload, and inspire. But our goal is always to provide a safe and lively environment for you to explore the highest potential of human collaboration. Pacific Town Hall is one of many town halls that happen around the world. So just to showcase the fact that there is an Eastern Town Hall in Japanese, Indonesia, and Vietnamese, as well as English. The Pacific Town Hall, which is this one. There's an African Town Hall, a Latin American Town Hall, a European Town Hall, and then a Middle East and North Africa Town Hall now. So there's quite a few coming online. So you always have opportunities at any time of day to talk about Cardano with different people around the world. And some other community events that happen throughout the week. Gimbal Lamps Playground happens each Tuesday at 1800 UTC. Cardano for Climate has a call for the community every Wednesday at 1500 UTC. Swarm sessions happen each Saturday at 1500 UTC. And Lido Nation has Twitter spaces 3 times a week to talk about Cardano and the Catalyst ecosystems. The Cardano Catalyst Women meet every Thursday at 6 p.m. UTC, and you can find them at CardanoCatalystWomen.com. And then Innovatio is another community that meets regularly and has a lot of different breakout rooms. They meet every Monday on Discord. They have a bi-weekly breakout room at the town hall, and then there's a bunch of different Discord servers and ways to connect here at their QR code. So we'll start into the community updates. So this is a time for you to have 2 minutes or less to talk about what you've been up to, any projects that you have going on, and anything you want to update the community on. So I will stop the share here. And yeah, if you have any updates, just raise your hand and we can take them in order of people jumping in.
Going once, going twice.
Okay, Matthias.
Fine, I go first. Not too much of an update for myself, but I hope y'all already saw the announcement on the SIP 1694 community-led workshops. I would like to encourage everyone to either host or participate in one, because that is, I believe, very, very important work that ensures, or is trying to ensure, first of all, the future of Cardano, and also to have more equitable access and really get all the voices into this process that seems to be currently the path forward for empowering the community to truly run governance. So that's my call to action. Yeah, thank you.
Thanks, Matthias. Dylan or Maddie, do you have any updates on your various projects?
Yeah, I could have a quick chat. Yeah, we've been working through with our artists on our NFT project for Algae Token. And basically that's just an NFT for founders, helping to raise money to get all the legal entities and all the legals done for the project itself and kickstart it. Also working on sort of a marketplace project and a different project for RealFi application to onboard more RealFi onto Cardano. So that's all exciting stuff.
Nice, beautiful. And if you guys have links to any of the things that you're talking about, feel free to drop them in chat. Make sure to include those as well. Maddie, what's going on?
Yes, I have an update. I shared with this group, I think in February, that Socious launched a new project, I would say. It is a product, but it's not a full-formed product yet. That was funded through Fund 9 in Catalyst. And we've completed the second milestone out of a 4-milestone project. So that's all going well. And I have the prototype design. Could I share that with the group, actually?
Yeah, absolutely.
If I share my screen, see if you guys can see this. Okay, I ended up presenting this yesterday. So this is what I want to show you. This is our draft. What we've been doing, let me back up. The project that we're working on is to tackle the lack of access to financial services for underbanked populations around the world. And what we proposed as a solution to that is a decentralized finance protocol that allows for peer-to-peer lending for social impact or environmental impact projects. And I gave an example in this presentation of Yannick, who's the main and first borrower that we're working with. He has a group of farmers in Cameroon that are working towards regenerative agriculture in an environment that often does slash and burn type farming, or just doesn't take the environment into account. And it produces a lot of negative consequences. So these are some of the farmers that he's working with. And we've been doing research with both this organization of farmers, as well as prospective lenders, to find out what interests them, how would they engage with such a project and a platform, would they loan, those kinds of questions. And so from that research, we've designed a product, and it looks like this. Yeah, so we have all of the users right now log in through ProofSpace. We intended to make this as decentralized as possible. So we essentially ask both the lenders and the borrowers to make a decentralized ID so that we meet KYC and AML stipulations. And once they have this, then they can log into Socious Impact Lending and either create a project to request a loan, which is what's being shown here, or they can lend to one of those projects and search through those that have been created. And once they decide on a project, then they connect their wallet and they're able to send either we peg right now to USDC or USDC. Yeah, so just a quick update. That's what's happening with Socious at the moment.
Why does it have Sony? Did I miss that? Why does it have Sony at the top of the document?
This was a presentation I gave to Sony yesterday. They have a group, yeah, they have a group of blockchain/NFT enthusiasts, and they caught wind of this project through something else, and they asked us if we would share it.
Cool.
So I had for them we had a discussion basically about what role do big companies play in the ecosystem where we are, considering that there's so much attention now towards blockchain, and there's also a lot of money being pumped into climate tech solutions, which we would be considered part of in venture capital. And then there's also this newfound consciousness towards social and environmental awareness. So how can big companies that don't innovate as quickly be part of that? And basically the presentation was the launching pad for that discussion. Yeah, it went very well.
Nice. You have a question, Matthias?
Yeah, first of all, very cool. Awesome to see that. And I've been following the project for a while, so great to see the progress. Regarding the DIT implementation, I'm curious, what are you using for DITs?
Which aspect of implementation?
Yeah, just the issuance of DITs, and then yeah, the issuance.
Okay, so I'm not sure if I'll be able to answer your question in full, but where we are right now is we've designed this on Figma, and we've handed the Figma file to our developers, and they will have until June to basically make bare bones, right? It won't have all the features that you probably saw just now. Like they won't be able to save projects, or they won't be able to adjust even the interest rate, because for right now we've basically catered the interest rate to the needs of these farmers specifically, so that we can just have the first few transactions work. But in the future, those types of details will be added once the development team can handle it.
Got it. Thank you.
Actually, I have a quick question for this group. I think, well, it's worth asking. One other option we explored in this project was talking to the WADA chapter of the Cardano community, because they're based in Cameroon, and they had a group of developers that, well, they're interns, but they were learning and they wanted to be a part of what we're doing, given that our group of farmers is also based in Cameroon. But they went silent on me. I haven't heard back from them. Does anyone have connections to the WADA group here, or know how there might be synergies?
I meet with Mercy on a weekly basis.
Okay.
So I can inquire and see.
Okay. I've spoken to Mercy before, and she directed me to Megan.
Okay.
So that was good. Maybe I'll reach back out to Megan again one more time, and before you reach out to Mercy, because I don't know if Mercy will be able to do any more than Megan on my behalf. So
okay. Yeah, Megan sometimes joins the meeting that I'm in with her as well.
okay.
If I do
Okay,
see
great.
Megan, then I can mention it as well. Just
Yeah.
All right. Thanks for the update, Maddie. It was really nice to see. Great to see so many DeFi things going on, and refi, I guess. So welcome, Fletcher and Peter. Nice to see you both. We're just going through community updates right now, so giving people 2 minutes or so if you have any updates on the projects or anything that's going on in the community. So if either you, Peter, or Fletcher want to give an update, you can jump in. Really nice timing.
Sure, I'll just give a quick little update. So the two Cardano projects I'm leading is Orcfax, which is an Oracle project, and Landano, which is a Landright NFT project. And the Orcfax project in the past 2-3 weeks has launched an ISPO as a fundraising mechanism. Catalyst dried up and we still needed some more on-ramp. So we opted for the ISPO option, and that's gone beyond our expectations. Like I think we're probably the fastest saturated single pool up, like a single ISPO. Like rather than opening another pool, we decided to not do that. And so we were fully saturated within like 2 epochs or something, which is great. So now filling the price of ADA would cooperate, it would give us a little bit of a financial boost. So, but yeah, that gives us some money in the bank to launch the Orcfax network over the next 6 months. And then, yeah, the community, there's quite a bit of community interest. So like, we had 2 dedicated community managers ready to go in Discord when we opened it up, and there's daily chatter there, more and more people joining. So yeah, it's been an interesting experience, and I'm happy to answer any questions for anybody else that's got thinking about doing it or wondering more about how that works.
Mhm.
And Landano, we've been really busy just trying to get a venture capital deal. So we're been working on a pitch deck, we're an accelerator program, and most of our effort is now focused on like meeting investors and also starting Ghana expansion. So we've hooked up with a chief in Ghana that's running for office, and that's got quite a bit of political connections in Ghana. So one of our co-founders will be there in June with him to run several workshops and hopefully shake hands with several chiefs. And that's kind of our business model there. It's like aligned with chiefs that are responsible for land management and get them to use our platform. So yeah, that's kind of update from those two projects, both Catalyst funded. I think Nori been around, has heard about, and Jeremy and Matthias have been around since early days, and Dylan heard about the early days of those projects, and it's kind of nice to see them enter the next stage now, and sink or swim time for both.
Awesome. Thanks for the update. Yeah, I created a small wallet and diverted some Cardano to the ISP, whatever it was.
Okay, cool.
ISP.
So, yeah, you're going to be collecting some fact tokens right now.
Yeah, I thought it was an interesting model. So
cool.
Yeah, thanks for the update.
Yeah. So what did you think from like just an end user perspective about our ISPO, like good, bad, or otherwise?
I saw that it was happening, and then I just thought, oh, that's cool, I'll help support. So I created a wallet and delegated, and I haven't actually looked into it after I did that. But
cool. Well, there's an ISPO calculator now, so just punch in your staking address and it'll show you how much you're collecting.
All right.
I developed that one because like I didn't want my developers writing a one-off calculator app, so I'm like, I'll do it. And then of course I was like, shit, why did I get you to do that? But anyway, it's working great. So if you go to rewards.orcfax.io, you'll see my little flask app there. Calculator.
Okay, good to know. I'll check that out. Awesome. Thanks for the update, Peter. Fletcher,
Yeah,
do you have
thanks,
anything? Yeah.
I'll defer. Thank you.
No, it's good to see you.
Yeah, likewise. Glad to see all of you.
Desert Rose, I don't know if you're active in the Cardano or Catalyst community, but if you are and have some kind of updates on stuff you're doing, let us know. But
unfortunately, I'm not active yet. I'm new and I'm just trying to figure out where I can fit in the community. And I'm trying to learn about what projects are going on. And there's so much. I mean, it's honestly like I'm getting fire hosed with information, but it's exciting and really different than what I do in my day job. I really like the idea of community and being able to be involved and create new technology to help more people. So yeah, just a new fish in a big pond, just trying to figure out what's going on. But I appreciate you giving me a moment to share that I'm a total noob.
well,
We all were at one time. Yeah, welcome. And yeah, you come to a good community if you're looking, for technology for social change. A lot of people in Cardano are here for that reason. Not just the technology, but like-minded people, like the people here, that want to use technology for social change. And if that is what you were, I think that sounds like what you're saying, but so certainly like some of the groups, Cardano C4C is called now, right? Like there's some really cool little sub communities within Cardano that are very, very focused on social change and other things. That's really your thing. So welcome. And Nori and I can help you direct to some of those if you want.
Yeah,
thanks.
absolutely. All right. Any other updates people want to give? I can give a short one before I jump into the Cardano Foundation Annual Report. Yeah.
How about any speculation when Fund 10 will actually start, Nori? Come on, give us some gossip.
I have no idea, but at the rate that IOG is unveiling new things, I imagine it's starting to get close to that point where something's going to be announced shortly. And I think before that, there's going to be a special voting event where the community is going to vote on a bunch of things that are going to impact Fund 10.
I'm curious, Matthias and Dylan and Fletcher, how has the freeze affected you guys? Were you counting on another round or two? Or were you okay without it?
Moved on.
Yeah. You were ready to move
not
on,
from what I was working on at all, but just Outside, just moved back into the kind of immediate community and outside the blockchain space, which is really where my passion lies, in the kind of the similar to yourselves and a lot of the other projects, right? Outside of bringing people into this paradigm shift more so, and have had some neat things unfolding in that realm. So it hasn't really, I've sometimes actually forgotten about it and wondered a little bit if I'm missing something. So it's nice to catch up and hear that I haven't just yet.
Yeah, cool. And, oh, wait a second. I just saw a message from Matthias and he has a new email address.
I do. So to answer your question, because I'm not quite ready at this point to reveal what's been happening with me on a personal level, but yeah, we essentially counted on Catalyst being there, right? So we were at a point where we took it for granted to, run smaller experiments and by the same token, apply for extra funding. So we had to make significant changes with the organization that was essentially created through our funding success within Catalyst. So our organization is unrecognizable from a year ago, unfortunately, for better or worse. But yeah, I'm excited what's ahead for Cardano. So yeah.
And okay, but that you didn't tell the whole story because your email address.
Right. And I'm not ready to fully announce that yet. So, but yeah.
I'm sorry. Yeah. But that sounds like interesting, exciting. So when you are, I'm looking forward to hearing more.
Yeah, me too.
Yeah, with Algae Token, the effects really negligible at this stage. I mean, the future will be different, but depending on what sort of happens from now on. But previously, it's a little bit more confusing through Carter Shift because they're changing chains and things like that. So that's where the funding for our Catalyst was. So a little bit different. They said they're still happy to support and everything, and they're still interested in the Cardano community. But it'll just be interesting to see how that progresses forward.
Cool.
Mm.
Yeah, for us it was, sorry to harp on this topic, but like for us it was, yeah, we were kind of like Matthias, kind of almost taking it for granted a little bit. Like we kind of worked it into our model, right? Knowing that there'd be a jump off point at some point, but we thought we could last another round or two. So it forced the issue earlier for us. Like we probably wouldn't have done an ISPO if it wasn't for that. And in that project, I think it's actually helped us. Like it's actually forced the issue. On Landano, I think we really could have used another. We needed a bit more on-ramp funding to finish some MVP stuff. So whatever, it just is what it is. How about you, Maddie? Like, are you on a lot of funded projects as well, and you were caught in the gap?
Yeah, you missed my update just now, but we had some
I know,
exciting developments.
Yeah.
No, it's going well. We've completed the second milestone of what's a 4 milestone project, but we were hoping that at the end of this project we could apply for follow-up, basically to continue it. If we don't get that from Catalyst, we have similarly been talking to other funding opportunities, to incubators, to anywhere that can keep this momentum going. So I guess we're okay for now, but it would be nice to be able to apply for next
one. Cool. Yeah, we're all at the same boat, and I don't know. We'll see. Even if they announce the start of Fund 10, by the time you get to like the awards of the Fund 10, like it needs to be September, October, right? So it's, now at this point for us, it's like maybe there's some little side sub projects, but it's totally not in our thinking anymore as far as keeping the projects alive.
Mm-hmm. I think that's a common story. Like even in the community groups, people are trying to find other ways or other things, or streamlining, or like Matthias said, totally transforming their groups and how they do stuff.
Now, I mean, so a separate criticism, and I've made this online to Danny on Twitter and stuff like that, and some of the other IGs, like to me, it's like the timing is really horrible, right? Like to do this in the middle of a bear market, right? And as we're now in a dogfight with other L1s for developers, right? And who are throwing, there's treasuries not throwing money, but money is easier to get in a lot of other L1s. So I think from a L1 strategy, like its point of view, to me, it's been a disastrous decision. like even if you say, oh, governance, whatever, like, so just cut your losses for one more round and just keep it going, right? Like I just, but I don't have the energy, the emotional space to go argue about Catalyst. I have other things to do. I have 2 projects to launch. So that's about the extent of how I voice my frustration, is to tweet once in a while.
Yeah. And yeah, it's nice to see, like, at least at the beginning of the year, the community kind of went through this kind of depression phase almost, where people were really trying to lose faith. But I'm seeing more and more people coming out the other side, like figuring stuff out and moving on without Catalyst, or at least not relying on it so much, and, and moving forward. So maybe it'll build a little bit more strength and resilience in what we're doing, because even in Catalyst, it's not guaranteed that you're going to win the vote. So this kind of gives you a bit of an alternative strategy. I think that could be a strength for a lot of projects.
Cool. Right, I guess. Let's hope so.
Yeah.
What else are we gonna do?
All right. So next up, the Cardano Foundation, if you haven't heard, has released their first ever annual report. Let me share the link to it. Oops. Sorry, I now have a cat on my lap, so it's hard to do stuff. So there's the link to the annual report. And we'll do a quick share here. There. So it's a PDF, and that basically talks about the Cardano Foundation's mission, core focus areas. They have a note from Frederick, the CEO, executive summary, some Cardano statistics, and then they get into the 3 key focus areas, which is operational resilience, education, and adoption. And then there's a bit about the Cardano Summit, and then a financial summary. The mission of the Cardano Foundation is to work as an anchor. Cardano Foundation works to anchor the Cardano infrastructure as a utility for financial and social systems, thus empowering the digital architects of the future. And this year, they've decided to focus on 3 core areas. The first one being operational resilience, to ensure a robust and reliable Cardano infrastructure. And then education, to contribute to blockchain education and regulatory clarity. And then adoption, create the conditions for increased blockchain utility. So those are the 3 main areas the foundation is really focusing on this year. There is a note from Frederick that you can read. It's fairly interesting, but I won't go through it. But just for the executive summary on those 3 areas, for operational resilience, they've been working on continuous to provide technical assistance in updating and maintaining the robustness and reliability of the infrastructure. And they call out some of the highlights: the release of the decentralized application backend solution, expansion of the developer portal, and then they provided technical support for the Basel hard fork and strengthening of the Cardano improvement proposal process, the SIP process. In the education space, in 2022, the team engaged with policymakers, businesses, students, general public, collaborated with universities, and participated in high-level policy discussions with representatives from Brussels, Singapore, Sweden, UK, and the United States, and a bunch of other stuff going on. And then, oh yeah, they've just launched the Alpha program, which is a blockchain education course, and they've offered it in an alpha state to the Cardano ambassadors. So there's a bunch of ambassadors going through that course right now, and then it'll be launched to the public. And then adoption, they're working to foster adoption through targeted partnerships with various enterprises, institutions, government agencies, environmental NGOs, and universities. Just for some quick statistics, as of the end of the year 2022, there were 3.83 million wallets, 4,705 Plutus scripts, 1.25 million delegated wallets, 7.4 total assets minted, 4.8 million native assets minted, 3,220 stake pools around the world, and 57.9 total transactions, and 71% of all ADA being staked, which is really awesome. And then it goes into pretty deep details on a lot of the stuff they did for the operational resilience around the developer portal, the delegation program to SPOs and stake pools, integration support for exchanges, the DAB, the SIP process, and then they have a short call out here for the Catalyst voting. In the education space, they talk about the events that the CF had attended. Apparently there were more than 20 of those, the regulatory engagement, and then a bunch of partnerships and different educational things that they go through. And then for adoption, they have a whole list of different projects, including Tree Pro update and some other stuff that they've been working on. So those are really interesting to go through too. And then they close up with the Cardano Summit wrap up. And this happened in Lausanne, Switzerland for the main event. But there were also 50 local locations around the world that held different events, and a total of over 30,000 participants around the world. So it was a really well-attended event and really got the community together to talk about Cardano. So yeah, here you can see the Cardano Summit stats. And then the report ends with a financial summary, which I thought was really interesting because I've never seen this before, but it kind of shows the market value of the assets held by the Cardano Foundation in the middle of the year and at the end of the year. And what's interesting to me as a call out is 8% of their treasury is actually held in Bitcoin, which probably came from the initial sale of ADA, because I believe the sale was in exchange for Bitcoin when Cardano was launched in Japan. Yeah, so that's basically the report. It's available. I shared the link in chat, and you can download it and take a look if you're curious. But I thought that would be interesting to just share. And hello, Sin. Welcome to Pacific Town Hall. All right.
Hey, Nori.
Yep.
Can I ask a question?
Yeah.
How is everything going with the documentation that you were writing for Catalyst proposals and everything? How's that traveling? I've missed last fortnight when it was held. Yeah.
Let me bring that up because it's launched in public now. So I'll share the URL to it. The book. Oops. I got it. Sorry, I'm still battling a cat on my desk. I have to work around him. All right, there's a Git book that we published that contains all of the content for what we produced. And for those who don't know what Dylan and I are talking about, there was a funded proposal in Fund 9 to produce what we called the Catalyst Onboarded Companies Playbook. So this was intended to be a playbook / handbook for any companies that received Catalyst funding and had no idea what to do with it, what the reporting requirements were, what the expectations were. And so we created this playbook to help go through the fundamentals of the terms and conditions of the funding, how you use the funding, the accounting and reporting requirements, where you can reach out for community support. And we gave a small bit of technology as well. So how to create smart contracts or where to find resources to do that. And it started by interviewing about 20 to 30 different onboarded companies and finding out where their pain points were and the kind of places where they struggled. And we were able to create this based on those needs so that we could help those companies answer it. So hopefully this can be used as a resource moving forward by companies that get Catalyst funding and have different requirements. We're always looking for feedback, and we want to keep this up to date as well, especially as Catalyst changes in Fund 10 and beyond. A lot of this may become obsolete, so our intent is to keep it up to date, so you can always use it for that data.
What will the changes be, do you think?
It's hard to tell. We didn't get into things like the PAs and VPAs and that whole process because it was post-funding, so we assumed they had gone through that whole process. So it was after that. We touched on milestone reporting, which wasn't a requirement for everybody, but it was in the DeFi space in Fund 9. So that may become a standard thing. So that could be a change that everyone's required to do that. But yeah, we're not sure. I guess we're going to have to wait to see what the results of the special voting event and all the new Fund 10 things that are rolling out. But hopefully there's not a whole bunch of change. A lot of it's fundamental, like how to create a wallet, how to convert your ADA into stable coin, if that's a concern, and how to do your project reporting and things like that. That kind of stuff might change, but hopefully a lot of it stays the same.
Especially in the programming on Cardano section, which I really appreciate that you not only included Icon, but also Mesh.js on top of Plutus, right? Plutus is not gonna go anywhere, but probably if we want to attract more developers, these other DSLs or program libraries or SDKs are really beneficial. What I hope to see is really now that the PAB, for example, is not really a strong concept anymore. And like I haven't heard about the PAB like all this year anymore as a thing. To really come up with the architectural best practices, seeing what works in running the actual infrastructure, because now it's relatively easy to write a smart contract that does the right thing and you can even test it, but okay, how do I deploy that into the wild, right? How do I integrate maybe with something like Peter's or Orcfax, for example, right? Even like certain best practices, and maybe that's beyond the scope, but at least if there are some standard or best practices that emerge, having the space to find that information, that would be great.
That's really good feedback. Something we could look into. I know we have some strong ties to Gimbal Labs and what they're doing, and can definitely draw on that knowledge. And I think the stake pool side of things could also be expanded on, because I know Peter has their stake pool for the ISPO, and I know that Socious is trying to stand one up, and Sarah's been asking some questions about best practices around that and how to do the stake keys and all that kind of stuff. So I think companies that are interested in doing their own stake pool would also have a certain number of technical questions on that side of stuff.
Yeah, the answer to that one is simple, right? Ask the guys from Sanada, from Salmon Pool.
Come talk to Brian. Yeah.
Come talk to Brian.
Yeah. But maybe we can encapsulate some of that into a playbook to make it a little bit easier to onboard. Right.
I have a question regarding this as well. Thank you for sharing the playbook. That's really helpful to me as a first-time project lead in Cardano. And one of the things I've been surprised by is that the funding that we've received for Project 3 is rolled into funding for other projects. Like it seems to come lumped into one and never consistent to the number by month that accords to the amount for each project, if that makes sense. So I've had a lot of questions about how to account appropriately for like what's like the cash flow basically for just one project. Does this report talk about that at all?
It does not, as far as I'm aware. I didn't write the treasury section, like Treasury Guild did, but that's been a continuous kind of ask to IOG is they include almost zero metadata on their transactions. So it would be nice if they say, this is a payment for Fund 9 for this project ID, so that you actually see with each transaction what it's for. But really, you just see a lump sum of money show up. And sometimes it's Catalyst PA rewards and you don't know what it is. And it's really confusing. And you can ask IOG directly. And if you send Danny, basically is who I work with, the transaction ID, they can tell you what it was for. But it almost feels like they're avoiding doing that. My guess is for regulatory reasons. So, because I think might be gray that they're dispersing all these funds and they don't want it to be too clear where it's coming from or for why, is my guess. But I don't know. It could be just that they don't have the infrastructure to put that together. But I know that if you get a disbursement from the Treasury Guild, there's like all sorts of metadata attached, and you know exactly what it's for, what the exchange rate was for that day, if they're paying based in US dollars, and all sorts of stuff. But IOG so far hasn't been doing any of that.
Okay, and so how have people dealt with accounting for or reporting on a particular project in the past? Like that whole section's just ignored.
Usually they'll post the exchange rate that was used for the disbursements, and then you basically take that versus the amount you got, and you can calculate how many US dollars were dispersed in that funding cycle.
Okay.
Beyond that, yeah.
We'll manage. All right, thank you.
Yeah. You have any clarity on that, Matthias? Or
I think our use case, yeah, I mean, it's a little simpler for us, right? Because we just operate as one entity. So even though we have different projects funded at the same time or head, you know, for purposes of accounting, it's more like, okay, well, you know, we kind of trust IO and we checked, okay, does this match our expectations? Yes, it does. Fine. In combination with the reporting sheet that IO has provided, the actual thing that matters for us as an organization is that we have the money, and that is it's simple income for us, right, for tax purposes. Right. So, but yeah, it is a nightmare when it comes to wanting to granularly account and check that, okay, this is actually proper. So yeah, I share the pain, but we simply avoided it. And I share your opinion. It was like, at least put some metadata, at least for which fund this transaction is for. Yeah. So no great insights.
One thing that we do across some of the projects I'm involved in as a best practice is to create a different wallet per proposal. So when you submit a proposal, there's a place to put in a wallet address. We use a different one for each one. That way we know that wallet is specifically tied to a specific proposal. And then it's easier to keep those separate if you have multiple proposals being funded. But at the same time, yeah, it's hard to tell what it's for, or like if you use that same wallet to do CAPA work and there's rewards coming from that, it's all blended in. It can get confusing for sure.
Yeah, so what we did at Loxe was that we also we didn't go as far as creating different wallets, but we used different payment addresses, right? And then we use our internal product AdaTart to essentially make, okay, this is for this project, right? Project name to wallet address, and we have to reverse as well a one-to-one relation if we wanted to. So that's easy, right? So you can then look into the transaction and actually see, okay, this is for that within this bulk transaction. Problem with that is that on idea scale, you originally identify all these different addresses. That was before the naming conversion. But then on the onboarding process, so after the vote, all of a sudden it is, okay, tell us where you want us to send your funds. And It's like, well, I told you in the onboarding. And it's just a administrative nightmare to go back and forth. So these days, if I would have to start over, I would just have a simple document and put that information right in there, which payment address refers to what project, and I would just reuse the same address for the same project over and over again. So not as extreme as Nori's suggestion, but maybe that is actually a better approach.
Yeah. And by separate wallet, it's basically a separate sub account within like Eternal or something like that. It's not literally a new seed phrase per thing, but it does help. Right. We have about 8 minutes left in the hour. We had one other topic that I wanted to just hit is there's been some discussion that 6 p.m. Pacific Standard might be a little bit too early for people on the West Coast for getting off work and getting dinner and everything done and jumping into a meeting. So we've been wondering if we move this an hour later, if that would still work for people. Good for Dylan.
I don't know that my vote should weigh a lot.
It's good.
I haven't been here lately, but
Yeah.
but it would work fine when I can make it.
Yeah. Okay. If that'll generally work for people, then starting next time, we'll move this to 7 p.m. Pacific Standard, and then we'll move forward on that cadence every 2 weeks.
Hold up a second. Is it standard? Because I think it was the last time I attended, which was before California went through this whole time switching nightmare again. I announced, hey, you know, we're just going to be on Pacific Standard Time. And I thought it was a done deal. Apparently it's not. We're on daylight savings time in California. So, but I also abstain because, you know, unfortunately I'm not a regular right now.
Okay. Yeah, that's a good correction. It is Pacific Daylight Time. But I guess we're saying it'll start at 7 p.m. on the West Coast of the United States.
I think I'm just learning something. So I always refer to it as PST, and then I have the frustration of the change. So there's Pacific
PT.
Daily Time or Daylight Time. And then we move to PST. So right now we're on Daylight Time.
Yeah.
Because we sprung forward. Oh man, I wish we could stop.
So
if we stay here, then it would become the standard time. Or do we have to go back and then that's which one's the real one?
We'll figure that out in August, September, whenever it changes back.
Oh man. Okay.
I
got up a whole hour. I was waking up in the middle of the early morning earlier this week it was earlier this week for an event, something that I was hosting, and it ended up being a whole hour early because also Europe or whoever also did their leap, and I was scheduling off a UTC, and there's that window where it I thought I had it figured out. Oh man, up at 4 a.m. Could have slept an extra hour.
Yeah. We'll definitely make sure to state it in UTC just to make it easy for people to convert wherever you are and find the right time. All right. So thanks for that. So yeah, we'll move it an hour later, and hopefully that'll allow even more people from the West Coast to join us. Yeah, that's all we have for tonight. Is there any other topics or anything people want to bring up?
Did anyone already apply to hosting a SIP 1694 workshop? Or was thinking about it?
I'm thinking about it. I'm gathering some troops here on the West Coast, and my goal is maybe to find a venue in Vancouver because it's a big city close to Seattle, and host a day-long in-person workshop in Vancouver on some Saturday.
Great.
But I don't want to do it alone, so I'm trying to find people to help right now.
Well, you got Jeremy and Brian, right?
Yep. and Theodore in Vancouver, and maybe Peter left, but maybe Peter can spare a body or two to help out.
And then Maddie, there's going to be one in Tokyo. So if you can make it out, it's going to be in June. Date has yet to be confirmed, but it's going to be Tokyo. And then the idea is to have all the represented, or at least one representative of all the community-led workshops, and ideally bring them out to Edinburgh in July, I believe, where there's kind of like a final event to collect what has happened at those workshops, right? So should be good.
How do I find out more about this?
I posted a link in the chat earlier to a blog post, I believe. Did I do that?
Yeah, you did.
Okay,
Great.
Yep.
Great.
Here it is again.
Great. Okay.
Thank you.
I know that we are representing a Cardano project in May 10th to 12th. There's a blockchain expo happening in Tokyo, and there will be other Cardano community members from Japan present, and we have a booth and like a presentation and a panel session there as well.
That's awesome.
Yeah, the two for sure events that are listed on the link are Tokyo, Japan in June, and then Edinburgh in July.
And then Maddie, can you say, is it the blockchain expo or what was it?
Yes, May 10th through 12th, the blockchain expo.
Okay.
It will bring together mostly employees of or executives of larger Japanese companies that want to learn about blockchain applications. And Cardano community has a whole section in the big expo. There will be many other community members from the Tokyo or Japan area coming. Yeah, and we'll share about Socious, Talent Marketplace, and the impact lending, and we'll do a presentation with, I think, at least one or two other people from DSpark, so it'll be good.
Great. Because I know there's also the Japan Blockchain Expo in Tokyo, October 25th through the 27th, I believe. So cool.
I think, if I'm not mistaken, in the past they've done this expo twice per year, and one has happened in October and the other in the springtime. So I think this is the other part of that.
Awesome.
Cool. And I think it's probably worth mentioning that the community-led events will be supported. If it's a virtual event, IOG will pay up to $500 and up to $5,000 for an in-person event to help pay for venue and refreshments and things like that. So it looks like they're putting some actual money towards this to make sure that we have some really good community events.
Right, and in your application, right, it's also possible to say, hey, I also want to have merge, right?
Yes.
At the Cardano Summit, right, we had NFTs, so I'm not sure if that's happening or not, but yeah, so should be good.
Yeah, they said the money is there for event setup, venues, infrastructure required, refreshments and food administration to facilitate, such as rewards or bounties to moderators and hosts, merchandise and swag for attendees, and then awareness and socialization campaigns. And then they're going to be providing all the workshop materials, including Miro templates, briefing documents, and suggested agenda. So they're making it really easy to put these on.
Great. Maybe I should travel to Vancouver to see that event. So
yeah,
whenever that's happening.
Yeah, you're more than welcome to join us here. I know Fletcher came up for the Cardano Summit in Vancouver, so that was cool. Yeah. Right. And yeah, thanks for mentioning this. I was thinking about it, but it totally kind of slipped my mind. So I'm glad you brought it up because I think it's an important workshop opportunity, and we should try and encourage as many of these as possible around the world. All right. Well, we're right at the top of the hour. So thanks everybody for coming to Pacific Town Hall. And apologies we couldn't do it last week or the last time. I fell deathly ill and couldn't find anybody else to co-host, so we had to cancel it. But we're back.
Glad you're
Glad
back.
to see you, Will.
Yeah.
I'll be back on my.
Like it was rough.
Still a little rough. I'm not 100%, but getting there. But yeah, it's nice to see everyone's faces. And thanks for joining us, Sin. And great to see people coming together. All right. So I guess we'll see everybody in 2 weeks, hopefully, and we'll have another one of these.
Have a good day. Good night.
Thank
Have a
you.
good night, everyone.
Good night.
Day.
Definitely day. See you, everyone.
See you, Dylan.
Bye. all.
Bye.
And cut.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, we